Bien, bien, bien. Dando la cintura. Bien, bien hecho. Bonita pinta otra vez ahí.
End of the day, because Boots is a southpaw and unorthodox he switches. It's close to Bud style as well, so I'm not surprised.
Jaron Ennis has officially joined Canelo Alvarez's training camp ahead of the upcoming fight with Terence Crawford. Known for his speed, power, and slick movement, Ennis is expected to give Canelo valuable sparring sessions that mimic Crawford's style. This move highlights how seriously Canelo is
Bien, bien, bien. Dando la cintura. Bien, bien hecho. Bonita pinta otra vez ahí. No te la cambias. Ahí. Suavecito y remate. Otra vez. Y remate. Suavecito y remate. Un pasito atrás y volver.
Canelo Alvarez is pushing himself to the limit in training camp as he sharpens his skills for Terence Crawford. His pad work shows focus, precision, and power with every combination thrown. Each session reflects his determination to prepare for the toughest challenges ahead. Canelo's speed and timing look sharper than ever, proving he is leaving nothing. Brian Norman highlights an important point in this build-up. Terence Crawford does not want shortcuts or excuses. He wants Canelo Alvarez at his absolute best. That means the expectation is for Canelo to prepare in the most serious way possible. Canelo has responded by bringing in Jaron Ennis to camp, a fighter whose skill set closely mirrors Crawford's. By doing this, Canelo ensures he is sharpening his timing, power, and ring awareness against a young and explosive talent. It demonstrates mutual respect between the fighters. Crawford wants the strongest version of Canelo, while Canelo himself is making sure he leaves no gaps in preparation. The inclusion of Ennis shows how focused Alvarez is on this challenge.
I probably think, again, it shows that Canelo is taking Crawford very seriously, which is a good thing on both of their parts. Because again, Crawford want to fight the best Canelo, and Canelo want to be the best he could be. So he want to get the best work he could get. So I don't know. I don't know how they feel. I'm sure it's mixed over there, just like it's mixed everywhere else. I don't know. I don't know, but I think it's good work for both of them. I think it's good work for Boots, and I think it's good work for Canelo, because I think Boots do need to be outside of Philly sparring with people, and he outside of Philly sparring with one of the best in boxing today. So that's huge. That's so that's good.
You believe it gives him it brings out the potential out of him, and you feel like the confidence level. I mean, when your son sparred Terence Crawford, I'm sure you probably seen a different confidence level in him and in yourself. Do you feel like that same way goes with Canelo and Jaron Ennis?
That's why I think it's more beneficial for
I
Boots
think you're on the
than.
mic.
Oh, my bad. You hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I said yeah. I think that's why I think it's more beneficial for Boots than Canelo.
Okay.
Yeah, because Canelo got all the experience. Boots don't have the kind of experience that Canelo got with the sparring or outside of it or whatever else. So I mean, yeah, that's good. When you go in there, depending on how he did against him, you know what I'm saying. We don't nobody know how he did against him. Depending on how he did against him, like it gives you hellified, confidence. You see the confidence, and it's good. It's good. It's good work for both of them.
right, right. A lot of people say, uh, cool and all, but this is same thing that's gonna happen. He's no Terence Crawford either way.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Man. I agree with. I don't think it's gonna make the difference of what happened with Terence Crawford because, like I said, they don't fight the same.
Showbiz the adult stresses that hunger is going to play a decisive role. For him, Canelo appears hungrier than Crawford, not just in terms of physical preparation, but in mental drive. Canelo has already achieved legendary status with multiple world titles across weight divisions, yet he seems to view this fight as one of the most meaningful challenges of his career. The hunger comes from pride, legacy, and the desire to prove that he remains the face of boxing even against a generational talent like Crawford. While Crawford is undefeated and naturally confident, Showbiz argues that Canelo's experience of big events and his obsession with victory make him sharper in this moment.
Is hungrier than Terence Bud Crawford. I was going to wait to do this video for like fight week just to be sure, but I'm going to do it now to follow the video that I did yesterday. I think Saul Canelo Alvarez is obviously hungrier than Terence Bud Crawford. And let me tell you why. Let me count the ways, okay? First of all, Canelo Alvarez, if you look at that press conference or the first series of press conferences, where Canelo said one thing, he thinks that His Excellency Turki al-Sheikh is against him.
And I know Turkey is in your corner, but look, it's going to be very difficult. He's going to be so mad that day.
Two, how Terence Crawford in the second press conference walked up to Saul Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez pushed him because he didn't like that shit. He thought he was being fronted on. And he looked at Crawford and he said, I'm going to remember that. And regardless of what Saul Canelo Alvarez may say about, we're professionals, he doesn't like shit talking and stuff like that, he seems to fight up in those situations. If you think about Caleb Plant and how they were not even kind of beefing, they were definitely beefing, and how Saul Canelo Alvarez, how focused he was. Really, that was his last knockout.
Keep laughing, motherfucker, because you know when you're going to find out? Real soon. And you know when you're going to find out? The same time everybody else found out. And you know...
Don't get paid.
So Canelo Alvarez, he may not like when he feels that way, but he fights better that way. He's hungrier that way. Hey, let's take this coffee and this conversation out to the koi fish pond real quick.
Hashim Hassan offers a contrasting perspective, pointing out that although Ennis shares certain similarities with Crawford, the actual fight may unfold differently. He notes that Crawford's rhythm and fight IQ are unique. While Ennis can provide Canelo with valuable sparring, Hassan believes it might not be enough to crack the puzzle Crawford presents inside the ring. He suggests that Crawford's adaptability, his ability to read opponents mid-fight, and his patience in breaking down fighters will allow him to outbox Canelo. Hassan emphasizes that even though Boots is fast and powerful, he is still developing as a fighter. Crawford's maturity, composure, and tactical sharpness may give him an edge that sparring sessions cannot fully replicate.
Trainers and the top guys in Philly, but some of them are upcoming in the UK. So, a lot of the names are people are knowing as well.
All right, speaking of Bozy Ennis, his fighter Jaron Ennis went to go spar Canelo Alvarez in preparation to Terence Crawford.
Yeah.
You know that shit like broke the internet.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts when you first heard that?
I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised at the end of the day because Boots is a southpaw and unorthodox. He switches. It's close to Bud's style as well, so I'm not surprised Canelo got him in for camp as well. But yeah.
Do you think that that's going to have any significant impact on the fight?
No.
Why?
I'm a Bud Crawford guy, so I think Bud will figure out Canelo and do the job. But I think for Canelo it's great for the style, Bud's style. He's a switch hitter. Ennis is sharp, good defense, combination puncher as well. So getting that style in it will help Canelo in preparation, but I still believe Bud wins.
What does this do for Jaron Ennis moving up to 154 pounds and then getting that sparring?
It does a lot for him. He's fighting elite of the elite. You know, Canelo's a 4-weight world champion, 2-time undisputed, one of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound. Jaron Ennis is close to being a pound for pound level fighter as well. So training and sparring Canelo is going to do a lot of good for him as well.
Are you surprised about the backlash that it got?
At the end of the day, Boots and Bud are not friends, so, and they're not in the same camp. So I don't see why there's a lot of backlash for the fight.
Salim Bey reacts positively to the news of Canelo sparring Ennis, calling it a smart and calculated decision. For him, this shows Canelo is taking Crawford as seriously as possible by stepping into the ring with one of the most avoided fighters of the new generation. Bey highlights that Boots is not just a regular sparring partner, but a legitimate threat to anyone he faces. Sharing rounds with him allows Canelo to prepare for Crawford's southpaw stance, quick shifts, and explosive attacks. The decision reflects not just tactical planning, but also courage, since many fighters avoid sparring partners who might make them uncomfortable. Bey applauds Canelo for him.
What was your first start hearing that?
I think it's good for both of them. I think it's good for Canelo going into a Bud fight because that's a good look within Boots. You know, Boots is a shifty, fast, and dynamic fighter, and that's similar to Bud in some aspects. But I think it's also good for Boots because, you know, he's getting the experience with Canelo, which is priceless because he's hands down one of the best fighters walking around planet Earth right now. So, you know, I feel like it's good for both fighters. I feel like they could both definitely benefit from that situation, especially going forward in their careers.
When you had your step up against an elite level guy, future Hall of Famer, what did you take away from that?
Honestly, professional boxing is professional boxing, no matter what level it is. You're kind of going to take away the same things, but it was definitely a different thinking process.
Breadman sees this arrangement as mutually beneficial. Canelo gets to face a fighter whose style imitates Crawford's attributes, while Ennis gains priceless experience by going against a legend. Breadman underlines that sparring with Canelo provides Boots with lessons he cannot find anywhere else. The rhythm, power, and composure Canelo brings to each exchange will raise Ennis's game, while Canelo benefits from testing himself against a young fighter who carries hunger and explosiveness. Breadman notes that Canelo's choice of Ennis is not accidental. It is rooted in the need to prepare for Crawford's blend of aggression and technique.
But I think Crawford got a special thing about him. And I think that putting Boots in there probably put his mind to just a different level where he know, like, I got to come to pretty much give up my life if I have to on this night. I just believe that he got it. If he don't, you know what I'm going to say? I was wrong. Canelo beat him. There's nothing I could say. But I believe that he got it, and we just going to have to see.
Let me ask you about Boots. Obviously, this dude is, I don't even know what word to describe him. He's just a little different from people that I've seen in boxing ring. But him being in there with Canelo is all time. Like, is that gonna take Boots, you think, to like, oh, okay, you thought he was nice before. Oh, okay.
I don't know. I think what's going to take Boots to where he needs to be, and this is just my honest opinion, as if his handlers become more productive with the behind the scenes stuff. I honestly think that's the only thing that he's missing. Like, just the PR, the opportunities. I don't know whose fault it is. Let me preface it. I don't know whose fault it is. I don't know his responsibility. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I don't. I'm not blaming anybody. But if what goes on behind the scenes matches his talent, that's all he needs. He hasn't got the opportunities. Other managers and promoters and fighters make him look bad because negotiations get leaked. It looks like certain things are happening. that may or may not be happening.
Analyst points to the broader impact of this matchup, saying it is the kind of fight that keeps boxing alive and thriving. In an era when fans often complain about big fights not happening, seeing Canelo and Crawford face off restores excitement to the sport. These are the types of contests that
But there's just something about this one that makes it special. I don't know if it's the stakes on the line for Bud Crawford moving all the way up. I don't know if it's Canelo having this rejuvenation and this refocused mindset and attitude toward this fight to once again, even though he doesn't really need to prove that he's one of the greatest ever, once again taking that challenge to do it. Or the fact that this Netflix deal is here with the Ring Magazine and Turkey El Sheikh trying to breathe life into the sport of boxing. But this one just is so important, I think, on a massive scale for what boxing's new era is going to be and stepping into a new plane and becoming, you know, a sport that is refocused, especially here in America, as one of the big sports that we want to watch. And I think it all really starts with this.
Greg Hackett makes it clear that Canelo's move is deliberate and deeply strategic. He rejects the idea that sparring with Ennis is a gimmick, instead framing it as a calculated decision to face daily challenges that sharpen reflexes and stamina. Hackett notes that Ennis brings qualities few other sparring partners can. He is unpredictable, fearless, and motivated to showcase his abilities against a legend.
Yeah. What's your thoughts? Did you see this coming?
No, of course not. I don't know, Mill. I feel a lot of ways about it. And you hear about, I don't know, because it's things I know about camp and how they want things to go. So is it going to be that way? Is y'all going to try to alter the camp, or is y'all going to let them go? Or, I mean, is y'all looking to still?
Give me the psychology behind both sides. What does Jaron Ennis get from this? What does Canelo Alvarez get from this?
I mean, Jaron Ennis get from it being in with the elite, a guy who's prepared for everything. One thing you can't say about Canelo is that he hasn't seen something. Canelo's seen southpaws, he's seen tall guys, short guys, slick fighters, he's seen bulls, he's been up against everything. So you get a world of experience with a guy like Canelo. You get a guy who's in full confidence with a guy like Canelo. So with that type of boxing, I would see Canelo really not worried about so much of what Boots trying to do to him, but really just paying attention to him.
Supporters of Canelo's preparation emphasize that Ennis mirrors many of Crawford's most dangerous traits. Both are natural switch hitters, capable of changing stances effortlessly and keeping opponents guessing. Both possess dangerous knockout power in either hand, forcing anyone facing them to remain alert at all times. By sparring with Ennis, Canelo is essentially rehearsing for the unpredictability Crawford will bring into the ring. Observers argue that this shows a high level of respect for Crawford. Alvarez is not taking shortcuts, but is instead investing in the toughest sparring available. The decision also sends a psychological message. Canelo is prepared for every scenario, whether it involves slick boxing, aggressive exchanges, or quick stance switches.
But this is a big deal because not only did he come in and train with Canelo, it looks like some sparring went down, as you can see here, posted by the Ring Magazine, Canelo and Boots Ennis standing there together. By the way, Boots Ennis looks bigger than Canelo in this picture. And we all know that Canelo's not a massive 168-pounder, but Boots Ennis at 147 was having trouble making the weight still, is going to 154, just so happens to be the two weight classes that Terence Bud Crawford just came from, 147 to 154. Boots has a fight coming up soon for his debut at 154. You have to think sooner or later he's going to be grabbing a belt because he's in a title eliminator coming up anyway. But again, it's very interesting because we all know how good Boots Ennis is, and it's interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, you look at this picture, and Boots Ennis is a monster. I can see him going to 160 pounds and still doing very well. I think he's going to do great at 154. But the question you have to ask yourself is why? Why would Canelo bring in Jaron Boots Ennis? And it's not just because Ennis is a great boxer. It's not just because Ennis fought at the highest level of 147 and is going to be at the highest level of 154. So he's a smaller guy that Canelo can use in camp to see how a smaller guy of this era moves, as Canelo has maybe not had as much experience with that since moving to 168. Usually he's the smaller guy fighting some of the bigger guys. But that's not all this is. This is a message that Canelo is looking to replicate exactly what Terence Crawford has in his arsenal, has in his tool set, because everybody has wanted to see the Boots Ennis versus Terence Crawford fight because it's a stylistic matchup.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until